Feast of Berries was always celebrated brightly and cheerfully in the county of Silver Cauldron, even more cheerfully than the day of the seventh moon, which meant the beginning of a new 14-month year. All kinds of prohibitions lost their force in this day, and even children could do whatever they wanted until the very morning. This had never caused any bad consequences. Despite their famous mischief, the children in Silver Cauldron knew the measure, and besides, they ate so much that quite soon, overloaded with a variety of far from easy food, they became victims of imminent drowsiness. That evening, as it happened in fact every year, the whole county was buzzing like the stomach of a whale that had not eaten for a long time. Darkness had descended on the world for a long time, but there was more noise on the streets than on the most active and restless morning. Lights were burning everywhere, piercing. Homemade firecrackers were exploding, causing hysterical screams from the female half of the population. However, the real end of the world reigned in the main square. I must say that the main square in Silver Cauldron was not big at all, and it definitely was not meant for such crowded festivities. However, the residents did not care much about it. It was so tight around the festive stage that you would never be able to determine who pinched your side or something softer. Besides, we should not forget about the children, who scurried underfoot with a dexterity that smacked of something fantastic. However, it did not get any freer around the stage. To tell the truth, the performances were not very refined or incredible, but for the inhabitants of Silver Cauldron, ordinary people who lived by their work and almost never left their native county, this was enough to admire everything they saw for the next month. The dance with burning torches remained unchanged from year to year, and from year to year everyone was afraid to miss it, because the tricks were amazing and the danger that threatened the artists was sometimes quite genuine. Funny plays with uncomplicated and kind plots were no less popular, as were the performances of wandering singers, who were by no means deprived of talent. In general, despite the simplicity and lack of gloss, the Feast of Berries was the happiest day for both children and adults, and the year we are interested in was no exception. Jack was 12 years old at the time, and he was having fun in the stormy company of local youth, which also included his 17-year-old brother Herbert, who had already managed to establish himself as the most handsome young man in the county by this age. It was long past midnight, but of course no one wanted to sleep. In addition, no one demanded it. Teenagers like Jack, who had already eaten too much and who had enjoyed the festive performances, were running around the main square, edging each other on every possible way and finding a reason to laugh every minute. The older children looked after them from afar, however, without any special zeal. There were many young couples among them, completely focused on each other, who cared little about what was happening around them. Herbert did not have a couple, although he did not suffer from the lack of female fans. However, at the Feast of Berries, he preferred to have fun with a large company without being alone with someone special. Therefore, he together with two of his friends of the same age, led a violent gang of Jack and other younger children, getting the most sincere pleasure from it. The main square was surrounded by countless narrow alleys resembling a complex maze, where a procession of motley children found a worthy source of entertainment. They got tired of scaring passers-by quickly, and Doug, the most uncontrollable of the whole company, he was 12 years old, just like Jack, offered something more exciting. "Let's play the crazy pack!" The idea was met with deafening enthusiasm. They immediately began to draw lots in the form of Herbert's single gold coin, and the chase began. There was no comparison with the fuss in the light of day, which has long been boring to everyone. It was night at that time in many alleys. It was dark as in the cellar, and it was necessary to run quickly and as quietly as possible. Jack had the role of prey, and he was scuttling from the screaming boars as if they were novice comrades who had entered into excitement, but real monsters capable of gnawing his throat at any moment. And it was just wonderful. No matter how hard he tried, his friends didn't lag behind, growled at the back of his head in the most ridiculous way, and generally made so much noise that his ears almost rolled up into a tube. At some point a turn loomed ahead. Jack strained his last energy, rushed around the corner, and at that moment everything disappeared. Of course, it was not like that completely. He did not dissolve, and the world around him seemed to be the same, but not completely. First, by some inexplicable way, he suddenly separated from his friends. They were ready to grab his collar just a second ago, but now it seemed as if they had never been here at all. Jack even turned around, but he did not see a single living soul behind him, only a deserted, dark alley devoid of any movement. Moreover, it was very quiet, which was hard to believe. Jack could hear the noise from the main square even during the chase, and now it was as if his ears had been sewn up tightly so that no sound could get through. However, the ears had nothing to do with it. The world really was completely silent. And even more, there seemed to be something unnatural, powerful in the air, insanely far from everything that was familiar to Jack. With a frozen breath, with a heart throbbing with fear. The fear was stronger because it had no apparent reason. The boy turned around and saw a small dark house with a pointed roof ahead. The house was in deep shadow, and only a dim, greenish lantern burned at the entrance. There was someone standing near the lantern, and without even seeing any details, Jack was rooted to the spot in the deepest horror. And when the stranger took a few steps towards him, and the weak light of the lantern illuminated him, the boy completely lost all power over his own body. He could only stand and stare in amazement at what was in front of his eyes, in fear, misunderstanding, and complete helplessness. There was an unearthly in front of him. He unconsciously felt it even before he noticed the figure under the lantern.